7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into the next edition of the Vegas Scores podcast. We are sitting here with a drunk Token Tony in studio. And Token, how was your weekend, Ben?
Could have been better, could have been worse. D-Gen out.
Could have gone either way, I guess.
Yeah. Still the same Token. I mean, played some poker today, had a little fun. Mic on?
Yours is, his wasn't.
Fair enough.
Cut me off.
Yeah, I actually did a first for me this weekend, DJing bet Keno at the casino, actually.
Keno at the casino?
Like, going up to the Keno counter and bet it.
Multiple tickets, too, Matt.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
I thought you were going to say, like, you walked down Trop and, like, solicited, like, 3 different prostitutes trying to find the dude or something.
No.
That would be a first. I don't know for you, but that would be a first for me.
It's a form of Keno of some sort. But yeah,
See where the balls may fall.
there it is. Yeah.
Oh, man, that would be a... Yeah. This chick's hot, her Adam's apple's cute.
It's a little testy in here.
Yeah. All right, and we got Spike on the other mic, whose, like, blood is boiling right now. Because he wants to go play a tournament, and the more and more we dick around, the later and later it gets.
You motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm.
You can blame the Muppets.
He's rage jerking over there watching Overwatch, and so...
Oh, we said, let's start at 7:30, and then 7:30 comes, and you guys are like, how's 9 sound?
I was in the studio at 7:30.
Fuck you.
I was in the studio at 7:30.
I didn't say anything.
I actually just said, before I say send 9, should I send this? And Token's like, yeah, that'd be fine. And I thought, it's probably not going to be fine, but I want to do this anyway.
Yeah.
So I did, yeah.
Oh, I was
great.
good. I said I'm good for whatever time.
Yeah.
I know Spike was trying to get his own DGen Sunday going on.
I felt Spike really did not bring the full force of a response either. I mean, it should have been a lot worse than what it was. So I'm not sure how to take that, but it was a little tame. Tame for what it was.
He doesn't want to have to punch up.
Yeah.
I was trying to be restrained. I was trying to be restrained because I spent most of the night after the Golden Knights game before coming here cleaning up animal shit. Either my cat's kitty litter
I gotta do that today,
or my dog's shit in the backyard. Cleaning up all the cat puke that's around the house because apparently we have a cleaning lady coming on Wednesday, which means we have to clean the house before the cleaning lady comes.
I never understood that either.
I don't get the logic behind this, but this is something that apparently we have to do. So that was basically my night. But you guys went out after the Knights game and you were gambling and playing poker and everything else, and I had a choice of joining you guys, doing the podcast, and then going home and cleaning shit, which I didn't want to do that late at night, or taking care of all of my chores and all that shit, coming here and doing this, and then degenning, which is what I did, and then as I was doing the chores, Aaron was like, oh no, I'm broke, I can't do this anymore. You guys are like, oh no, now it's too late, no, we can't do this.
That's what happens when you
like,
degen.
You motherfuckers!
I like it.
I can tell you the worst words a degenerate gambler has ever seen or heard in his life is...
Parkour!
You have reached your daily limits that you can withdraw.
Tough one to look at.
Then you have a shitty bank. You should switch banks and go to one that doesn't have a daily limit.
I've had like 3 or 4 banks. They all have a 500 daily limit. What bank wouldn't have it?
Some have 1,000.
Bank of America doesn't.
I have Bank of America. What are you talking about?
I don't have any limits on mine.
Well, I don't have any money, so maybe they try to do that for my own good.
Well, they know how quick you can charge it off. So.
It's not that you've reached your daily limit. You've reached the limit of what your account even has in it. All right, well, this is the Vegas Scores podcast. That third sound you hear was Tony Johnson.
Fake Token.
Yeah, Fake Token. He wears a lot of hats. Got a lot of names.
Yep.
His new name might be Bailey's.
There was some Bailey's consumed today. We were trying to make a combo coffee situation.
I always feel like the guy in the casino drinking Bailey's is the guy who wants to drink coffee because he's old and curmudgeon-y, but wants to also seem cool. I don't know, just being around poker tables enough.
Well, I wasn't trying to go for either one of those.
I didn't say that was your game plan. I'm just saying.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with the statement. I just that didn't happen to be me at this point.
What does Bailey's taste like? I never had it.
It's like a sweet coffee style liqueur that I don't know. It's hard to describe.
I had the Patron coffee before, and that shit's terrible.
That sounds nasty.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
By the way, I would like to put out a public service announcement to all of the cocktail servers and bartenders in the Las Vegas area. Please chill shots. Don't serve warm shots. That's just awful. Do not serve warm shots.
Especially if somebody asks for Rumplemints, too. That's
let's just pick a general rule of thumb. Don't serve warm shots.
Especially if somebody asks for Rumplemints. That's horrible.
Okay, you keep stressing that point. I think I've blanketed statement that, yes, Rumplemints is terrible and no shot should ever be served warm. Rumplemints or others. But, all right, well, I don't even know where to go with this podcast at this point. So let's just thank the sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, Eric on the Web Productions, ChaiPoker.com, and Vegas Puckline Apparel, who was supposed to be joining us tonight, but they did not. They had other plans. I think they're out celebrating the night's victory.
Good win by them?
Yeah, good win. They've won 4 in a row. And so let's start there, because I know that Spike and I were talking about this while we were waiting for you to get to the studio, you two. And, I mean, things were in a rut, Spike. You know, the Knights were 3-8-1 before the trade. They had made me a few bucks because I had actually taken under the point total in January and February. Both were good. But since Stone was traded and subsequently signed to make him the highest paid player on the Knights in Knights history, they're 4-0. And he's only got 1 point.
Yeah, and I mean, he's adding a spark to that second line with Stastny and Pacioretty, and it really looks like that line actually has some oomph to it and some power, some speed. And now 4 games in, they're actually starting to look like they can anticipate where each other was going to be on the ice. If you would watch that first game with Mark Stone, him and Pacioretty ran into each other 4 or 5 different times. It was actually kind of embarrassing. But now they know where to go, they know where to look, they know where to put the puck so that somebody can actually get to it, and they're looking a lot better. And even with the 1 point from Stone, having him on the power play is helping. Having him on that second line is great, even though that second line should really be the first line at this point.
I was going to agree. I was going to say that, but yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's sort of a 1A, 1B at this point, but yeah, it's
they needed something to rejuvenate that.
I haven't looked at the actual minutes played for each team. I know Stone's actually leading the Knights in minutes, at least according to the Jumbotron today. I don't know if that includes his time in Ottawa, but he's playing about 20 minutes a game so far. Whoa,
yeah,
my voice just went high.
Which is more than some of the defensemen on the Knights at this point, which is crazy. And, I mean, as soon as they signed Mark Stone, he was the leading scorer on the Knights by 19 points, and this is a guy that's known as a defensive forward. So we knew that he was going to be able to add an offensive spark, and he really has, because it's not only improved that second line, but it's improved the third line, too, putting Eakin and Tuck together, and then the rotating cast of Peary, presumably Zukov, maybe
Carpenter,
Gushev if once the KHL season ends. Carpenter, although I kind of like Carpenter on the fourth line. I think
some kind of offense.
Nosek is fast, like he's sneaky fast. He's a lot faster than he gets credit for, but he's just doesn't seem to be good enough. He's just not operating.
By players and all that.
Yeah, his shot's just not good enough. He's not tricky enough with it, unfortunately, which is a shame for the guy that scored the first home goal in Golden Knights history. I'd like to see Nosek do better, but I think the lines as they are rolling right now look pretty good. You could probably tweak that other winger on the third line with Tuck and Eakin, but otherwise, I think the lines as they are.
might come back for that too.
Yeah.
The question a lot of people had, and I had this before the trade deadline, is there anybody out there that they could acquire that makes them, at least based on the way they were playing, is there anybody out there that they could acquire that makes them Stanley Cup contenders again? And I really didn't think Mark Stone, based on what they would have had to give up, by getting him, I don't think what they would have had to give up to get him would have made them contenders. But I also believe now, looking at the trade, I actually think they got a good deal. I know that you disagreed with me, Spike, on this with Brandstrom, because all I heard was fuckity fuck, you're an idiot if you think this is a good deal. I think that's just paraphrasing it.
Yeah,
But for me,
that's actually pretty close to a direct quote.
But
so
for
I'm
me,
not gonna shoot you down.
personally, I like the stud NHL superstar, or at least stud NHL player, over the potential of a prospect in this point, especially when defense is one of the deeper strengths of the Golden Knights.
So, 2 points to this. First, I'm going to disagree with you that defense is a strength of the Knights. I think the defense has been lacking
Depth,
at
excuse
best.
me. The defense depth, there's a lot of depth in
There's depth, but none of it is any good. You know, if you have, if your guys that are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all 7 and 8s on every other team in the league, that is not good depth.
It's depth, but
That's
lack.
That's a problem.
I don't think Colin Miller is a 7 or 8 on everybody's team.
When he was
I would say he's like a 4 or 5.
at best, maybe. He's played better this year. I'll give him credit because he drove me fucking bananas last year, and I used to get on him big time.
And that's playing lately.
No, that
But-
doesn't sound like you at all.
I think McNabb, after signing his deal, has regressed a lot, in my opinion.
McNabb this year has taken a step back in certain aspects. He's shooting a lot more now that he's paired up with Theodore, which I thought was a little strange. But his defensive stick handling is a little off. His passes are off. I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah,
There's
something kind of freaky with him or something.
Yeah, there's a problem there.
Cocaine, mostly.
The second point that I wanted to make is that the one thing that Knights have never had that I wanted them to go after this trade deadline as opposed to going after Mark Stone is they have never had that offensive-minded defensive quarterback that can champion the power play. Because they have never had that. They've
Minded defensive quarterback. He hopped over
5 hurdles.
sports lines. He hopped over offense and defense.
Exactly. But so the problem is you look at a guy like Torrey Krug in Boston, Victor Hedman in Tampa Bay, Erik Karlsson in San Jose. These are the kinds of guys on the power play. They can stand at the point. They can pass to the different guys down low. They can create opportunities. They can shoot wide on purpose. They can shoot low on purpose to try to get the rebounds. These are the guys that help your power play score goals on a more consistent basis, and the teams that have guys like this do better on the power play than teams that don't.
I will agree with that.
Theodore hasn't figured it out yet. Miller hasn't figured it out yet. For some
Schmidt's
reason,
probably the best candidate to do that right now.
Schmidt's the best candidate. The problem is whenever Schmidt is on the ice for a power play, they keep running a 3-2 with Schmidt and Theodore in the
Yeah,
back
that's
end.
weird.
As
The only
opposed-
power play I know that runs 2 defensemen.
Yeah, as opposed to putting that fourth forward out there. So the night until they figure that out, that is going to be a liability for them, which is why I was upset they got rid of Brandstrom, because he was that guy. Yes, he is.
But he's so far in his time has been a defensive liability.
He is a defensive liability.
And he's a defenseman.
and that's a problem.
You see where that's a problem, right?
Yeah, no, I get that, but the problem is if they just wanted offensive-minded defensive, trade for Brent Burns.
I was about to say, just have him play wing.
Yeah, just like or get Theodore to play wing or get Brandstrom to play like. There are other ways to do shit like this. They just haven't had that defensive player that has the offensive mindset that can run the power play.
But who was available at the time to do that?
The fuck's his name?
I mean, McQuaid's not really that style, obviously.
No,
He's a
and-
defensive bruiser.
Yeah, and didn't he get hurt with Columbus like 1 or 2 games in? No, I'm thinking of Zuccarello.
Yeah, Matt Zuccarello broke his arm in the second game. Or first game, I think.
First game with Dallas, yeah. There was rumors that what the fuck? Now I can't even think of his name.
It's
God
going
damn
great.
it. Yeah, no, that's.
I really don't know who would have been available at that point, but I get what you're saying. But I think that Brandstrom obviously wasn't doing that this season, and unfortunately, McPhee's in a spot, in my opinion, Tony, that he has unrealistic expectations from the fans, and I don't know particularly Bill Foley, but I believe now that they've done what they've done. I mean, again, I don't know what Bill Foley's hockey knowledge is, but I think that also Bill Foley is going to have an expectation that may be a little bit unreasonable.
No, I can absolutely agree with that. I mean, it's try and get the fans what they want, which is definitely a cup right now and all that. And
well, most fans want a cup, that are just on the surface fans. Other fans know that you want to be successful, but at the same time, you don't want to deplete, the resources
Assets
that
and
you
all that,
acquired by fleecing a lot of these GMs in the expansion draft. However, one could look at it this way, other Tony, that effectively George McPhee turned those 2 first-round picks that he got, both Suzuki and Brandstrom, into Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone.
Yeah, no, agreed. And going back to, I mean, I don't know the players as well as certainly you guys, so it's a little bit more difficult for me.
Let me break it down in a more basic way. In the expansion draft, he was given
Keith Yandel, motherfucker. There it is. God damn it.
I don't remember him being available.
Anyways, why wouldn't he be? He's on Florida. Florida shit.
Well, I'm just saying I never heard anything about him being available. Anyways, so basically, let's break it down this way. You know Max Pacioretty and you know Mark Stone.
Yes.
And now everybody knows about Yander.
You don't, apparently. You don't even know what his name is. Basically, he turned 2 first-round picks that were given to him to not take players into one of the only American captains in Montreal Canadiens history. Who
Only. Not one of, the only.
Really?
Max Pacioretty was the first American captain of Montreal.
Okay, so shut up, Yander. He turned 2 first-round picks into Pacioretty and Stone.
Yes.
Immediate impact players. One who's got 20 goals, and the other one I don't know what Stone's exact stats are, but he's got 63 points.
Yeah.
I'd say he did okay, even though
Agreed.
what we saw, we never saw Suzuki. We saw
Agreed.
Brandstrom in the preseason, who he did look good, but I think he was a defensive liability, which is a tough situation when you're a defenseman. And he may grow into that, but that's, again, I'm the kind of guy that says, give me the bona fide NHL star over what could be.
Yes, especially that can produce right away. As you said, we have guys that are producing right away that are known names, throughout the NHL that are there's nothing, you know what you're getting. And the NHL, unlike a lot of the other major sports, is, to me, I think you kind of have a much better idea in free agency and in trades and things like that, that players, there's not nearly as much, I don't want to use the word tanking, that's a weird term, but you pretty much know with hockey, guys are going to show up and they're going to play, and there's not as much unknown. The unknown in the NHL, like in all the other sports too, is younger players and whether they develop or whether they don't. So I think when you have a known commodity, you have a team that is obviously on the precipice. They may not be in as good of a position as they were last year, clearly, but they're on the precipice of being able to either get into the Cup Finals again and or make a run into the playoffs at least. I think taking a shot with some of the picks that you had been given, makes a lot of sense, especially with well-established, high-quality players, and that's what it seems to be.
And not only that, hockey would be the sport of, I would say, has the most movement. Player movement of anybody. Obviously, we know about the NBA player movement. That's a voluntary movement.
Sure.
But a lot of times, with the salary cap being as small as it is for the amount of people on your roster or in your organization,
you have to move a lot, yeah.
You, one, have to move pieces that are on cheap contracts, and two, you have to rely on guys that are on cheap contracts to also be successful. I kind of liken it to having a rookie contract on a quarterback in the NFL. That's your time to go.
Yeah.
Like the Rams.
Yes.
It's your time to go balls to the wall.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's the same in hockey because, that fourth line's not making a lot. Most of the guys on the third line aren't making a lot right now. Tuck's signed an extension, so he'll be making a little bit more next year. But, those top 2 lines are your bread and butter.
That's where it comes down to,
shit scoring line.
Well, as to borrow a line from Spike, the fourth line is where players go to die. So, that's...
Did you say that before?
I believe he said that.
I don't know. Our fourth line's pretty gritty.
I don't remember saying that, but
nobody goes from
like
first line to fourth line, though. I tell you that.
No, I understand that.
Sidney Crosby goes out of the league before he goes to the fourth line.
I understand completely.
So, but I get what you're saying. Like Ryan Reeves is a career fourth liner, Bellemare is a career fourth liner, and insert Carrier / Nosek, they're all career fourth liners. So it's actually sometimes an honor to be able to play that line. Especially against teams that like to run their first line out against the fourth line as an advantage. Mm-hmm. So they take pride in saying, okay, well, you're basically kicking us to the curb. We'll show you. So, anyways, going back to it though, you're right. The big thing I noticed, the jaw-dropping thing, was that Stone instantly became the team leader in points,
and not by a little bit,
by 20, almost 20.
Yeah,
but. The question really is now with the addition of Stone, and we're 4 games in from that trade. Try to put an objective face on, even though, like I said, things have been going well. He's been playing well. sustaining it against, we're going to obviously be on the road every single playoff series. Are they Cup contenders now with Mark Stone this year?
Yes. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I think
that's okay.
The two teams in the Pacific in front of Vegas right now are Calgary and San Jose. I think both teams have fatal flaws, especially in the net, that Vegas is going to be able to take advantage of come playoff time.
One thing I actually was curious about in the deadline, and I actually wondered if it would have even been able to be possible with. I wonder if they could have gotten James Neal for like a bag of peanuts and had him come back to Vegas. That would have been an interesting deal, right?
Certainly,
he's clearly not working out in Calgary.
No, but
at least so far.
The second line last year for Vegas was Neal, Hala, Perron. It was the worst defensive second line in the NHL. So that's why McPhee blew it up. The issue being whether or not they could have gotten him for nothing from Calgary, I don't know. But I think the fact that Calgary did essentially nothing at the trade deadline, and the fact that San Jose didn't get Bobrovsky at the deadline, I think both of those are fatal flaws for those teams, and I don't expect them to go very far in the playoffs at all.
Even as having home ice advantage right away in at least the first series, potentially.
Yeah, I mean.
Winning one series, you mean, and then probably stalling out from there?
Right, exactly. I don't see them making deep runs because if you look at the teams that have been successful running through or winning the Stanley Cup the last couple of years, everybody wants to talk about how good Washington was and that they Holtby and how he played and everything else. People forget that Grubauer started the playoffs for Washington. And then you look at the year before when Pittsburgh won the Stanley Cup, it was the combination of Fleury and Matt Murray. So they had those two.
Fleury won what? 9 games?
Yeah, he won a handful of games for him. So, teams need that second goalie. First, they need the one goalie to be really good, but they need that second goalie they can rely on in case the first one gets hurt or has a couple of shit games or whatever else.
Yeah.
San Jose doesn't have that. I'm not even convinced Martin Jones is good enough to get them a win in a playoff series this year.
That's a bold statement.
Wow.
The Calgary... for as good as Smith and Riddick have looked at times, for both of them to get good at the same time in the playoffs, I think is going to be a problem. And I have not been impressed with the way that they've played over the last couple of weeks. Now, they could obviously turn that around in the last month of the season. But like you said, with James Neal not scoring, a lot of their scoring's coming from that first line that they have. And then from on the blue line with, what's his name, Giordano. So there's a lot from Calgary that I think is lacking, and I think they put a lot of unproductive players out there too often that I think is easily exploitable for a team like Vegas.
I think that's a fair point, yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I think that a lot of times our defense can be exploited too, even though they...
Oh, yeah. I
don't know why I say our. I'm not on the team.
There was... what was it? Last year, it was either the Stanley Cup Final or the Western Finals, where the team Vegas was playing didn't score a goal without Engelland on the ice until Game 4. He is so goddamn old and slow. At this point, if I were Gerard Gallant...
I think that was against the Sharks.
No, it wasn't the Sharks. It was definitively later on in the playoffs, but I forget if it was the Western Conference Finals or the Stanley Cup Final. But if I'm Gerard Gallant at this point, I'm telling Engelland, I don't even let him onto the ice with a stick. I say, look, just go out there...
Who's worse, him or Holden? I don't know. Holden's pretty bad, too.
But Holden has looked okay with the stick in his hand as opposed to Engelland. Engelland can't pass anybody. There's actually, I want to start a game show that
actually,
says...
in today's game, he went down the ice. I'm like, oh, God, what are you doing, dude?
Oh, whenever Engelland goes beyond the offensive blue line, I turn to my wife and say, oh, no, oh, God, oh, no.
Only shit can happen out of this.
Because he is way too slow to get back. When he was paired with Theodore was too young to see that a problem was developing, so he wasn't able to get back. Now that he's paired with Schmidt, they look a little bit better. Schmidt can get back and kind of make up for some of those mistakes, which is probably the right idea.
Just give him the C and make him a healthy scratch.
Oh, fuck off. What was he, Andrew Ferentz?
Much.
So these are the types of problems
Andrew Ferentz
that I
had
see.
a couple good years.
Yeah, that's true. And plus he flipped off Montreal in Montreal when he scored for the Bruins. So I'll always love Andrew Ferentz. I actually have an Oilers jersey with Ferentz's name and number on the back.
That reminds me of the talk that we had.
Yeah, we have a bet going on with your jersey collection.
Oh yeah, what about?
Yep. Soccer jerseys. We came up with the a number. How many soccer jerseys do you own? It's either a half, and the over is like minus 180 to 190ish, or we set it at 1.5, and the over is like plus 1 and change or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think you have any soccer jerseys.
You think so? The line for my soccer jersey owning,
We think 1 is the most likely number that you own, but I actually think there's an outside chance there's 2. You have like some sort of, one-off like star, and you might have like some sort of national team weirdo one when you went crazy at one point.
You have 3?
You have 3?
I have 3. I have 2 from Everton, and I have 1 from the American women's team. What's her name?
Perfect. Yes. Yep. Token brought up the fact you have a women's soccer team. Yep. Very nicely done, Token.
That would have been a good bet.
That is good. Yes.
And Abby Wambach. I got her jersey right before she retired.
I said a national team jersey.
Yep.
That was, yes, we nailed that.
2 from Everton because
Did the Abby Wambach jersey have beer stains on it?
no, it probably should have though. It should have had like hair clippings on it because she kept her hair so short.
Yeah.
No, the Everton ones. There were a couple of years where the Bruins were just dog shit for 3, 4, 5 years. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to get into the English Premier League. And a buddy of mine was an Everton fan, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to jump on this. So I did, and I bought a couple of jerseys.
Tim Howard played for Everton for a while too.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we figured if you had 1, there was more likely that you would have 2.
We would have been on the plus 130, 140 range, over 1.5. That's where we wanted to be.
I think they took full advantage of degenerate Sunday.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
You guys really went into this.
We did.
Yeah.
We absolutely did. Yeah, we played for a while at Excalibur, which not a lot of people do. So.
Well, you can tell the last time I went, the poker room was in another location.
That was my first time playing poker, actually, there, too. So
That's a weird emphasis of poker.
Poker.
So, all right, well, then let's look at it. So you didn't like the Eric Brandstrom being in the trade, but all things considered, if Eric Brandstrom...
I'll put it this way. Between Glass, Brandstrom, and Suzuki...
Was this pre-extension, though, too?
It was pre-extension. Once the extension was announced, I felt a little bit better about it. But between Glass, Brandstrom, and Suzuki... as much as I didn't want to give up any of them, I was most okay with giving up Brandstrom. Even though I was talking shit about it, I was most okay with giving up him. I would have preferred to give up Glass over Suzuki. Because Suzuki's hockey IQ is so much higher than Glass. Suzuki's IQ is probably the best in 4 or 5 years in the draft, probably since McDavid. He is unbelievably intelligent. He can see the puck. He can do a ton of things on the ice. He can do them very well. I think we have a future Patrice Bergeron on our hands, and I don't say that lightly because
he ain't on our team.
Well, that's true. As a player, I think I can see him being that type of cerebral
caliber.
Like a good two-way player.
15 years.
Yeah. Oh fuck.
And Tatar too.
Oh, why is Tatar suddenly good again?
He was never bad. He just didn't fit in here.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't understand. Everybody's like, Tatar sucks. I'm like, nah, he just doesn't make sense in this
system.
Because he's supposed to play. He's a fast wing who plays the outside, and that's not what any of the guys on this team do. Because they all seem to be center wings. Have you ever noticed that? I feel like everybody on the first line, at least, seems to be a center wing. They can all take a face off. They can all obviously play wing.
Well, and when Haula went down, the trade deadline started coming up. I thought if Haula came back before the trade deadline was over, that Eakin would get traded. Because Eakin and Haula, to center that third line, I think it's a little redundant. I don't see the need for both of them being on the same line. Plus, I thought, people online were talking about trying to get rid of Carpenter, Nosek, Lindbergh, like these guys. But
the funny thing is they were like, yeah, let's... Actually, the funny thing about this trade is a lot of people I saw on a lot of the boards were like, yeah, let's throw in John Merrill and Oscar Lindbergh for Mark Stone. And I'm like, you guys are fucking drunk. Nobody's making that trade.
Exactly. And I mean, if you look at the trade, yes, Eric Brandstrom is a lot of potential, but effectively the rest of the shit they got was, they picked up trash. Yeah.
No disrespect to Lindbergh and whatever that 2020 second might be, but
yeah. Although Lindbergh did score in his first game for Ottawa.
On his first shot, too.
Yeah.
First shot.
So,
all right. Well, let's move on from the trade. I was really just kind of seeing, because like I said, I didn't believe that there was anybody out there based on what was going to have to be given up that would have made them Cup contenders. But I think they are Cup contenders now as well. It's going to be tough having to play 3 straight road series to get to the finals.
Yeah, I think at this point, If I were able to bet exactas on how they end up, I think Vegas loses in the Western Conference Final to Winnipeg.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think Winnipeg's winning the West this year.
Yeah, I had bet Calgary earlier in the season, but I think Winnipeg's too strong right now.
I think it's all Canadian Stanley Cup final this year.
Oh.
Winnipeg and Toronto?
Yep.
Ooh, I'll take that bet.
Ooh, first time since '93 we'd have a Canadian team winning the Stanley Cup. I like it.
Yep.
Do you know who the last Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup was? I know who it is, but I know you know who it is.
Of course I fucking know.
Okay. Good, we're going to move on.
I want to say it was the Canucks.
No.
Quebec.
Yes, no. It was the Montreal Canadiens.
Yes, it was.
That was like the easy guess. I thought it was something weird.
Yeah.
No, it was the low-hanging fruit. You could have had that one.
Yeah, I did.
They beat Barry Melrose and the Kings. And Wayne Gretzky, too, I think. He was on that team, right? Or was he in New York by then?
93? No, he was
still in LA,
he was still in LA, yeah, because he wasn't on the 94 Rangers team that won the Stanley Cup.
That's true. All right, well, let's move on to another guy who signed a big deal other than Mark Stone, and that's Bryce Harper. So we'll move into that. That's obviously the news of the week. It's his contract, the $330 million over 13 years, has been met with, well, at least in this inner circle, a lot of debate as well. Many people believed one thing over the other. He made a dumb deal. He wanted stability, blah, 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 this. And then it kind of seemed in his press conference he came out that it really did seem like he and his wife wanted to be in a stationary spot. Because, Tony, you and I mean, we all talked about this over the course of the text, but I think you and I had the most dialogue. And I 100% agree with what you said earlier about, yes, he, taking the 20 or was it $45 million a year from the Dodgers would have been
a true deal. Yeah,
it was a true deal. It would have been the smart move, and I don't disagree with that. Again, he is a rare baseball player or a rare superstar athlete that is married at 26 years old. There's not a lot of guys who are. I mean, I don't really know a lot of other guys who, at that age, who are getting ready to sign for that deal that are married.
Well, he's Mormon, so that was the only way you could have sex.
Is that true? Is he Mormon?
Yeah. That's why when he was a rookie, he was 19 or 20 years old. They played in Toronto, and somebody said, "Did you go out drinking?" Because the drinking age in Canada is lower. And his quote was, "That's a clown question, bro." Because he doesn't drink as a Mormon.
I did not know he was Mormon.
I didn't either. That might actually kind of mean something in all of this, to be honest with you. So, yeah, as you said, I mean, it's...
But it seemed to me that signing for this, like you said, the $25 million over the course of, what did we say, 13 years?
Yep.
Yeah.
$25 million per year. Again, yes, I believe it's a front-loaded contract that he'll actually be being paid until he's like 62 years old. He'll be getting money, which is crazy. But I really believe stability was a bigger key in this than just taking a payday. On top of the fact that, yes, $45 million sounds great, but when you add in California state income tax and obviously
that's a huge
federal,
factor, yeah.
He's not making too much less in.
No, Pennsylvania's not cheap though either.
It's a 3% state income tax.
Right. Still something.
Well, yes. I mean, we're lucky here sitting in the middle of Las Vegas with a no state income tax.
Right.
Yeah.
The problem is with guys like that, and Manny Machado is going to face this as well. Actually, over the life of his deal, he's actually if he sees the deal through, he's actually only going to bring home like $147 million of that contract. I know I say only, but the point being is the sticker shock on top doesn't actually mean that's exactly every single penny that he's getting in his bank account. And a lot of people think that, but California, on top of the federal income tax for that bracket, which is 37%, Manny Machado has to pay a 13.3%. So he's paying over 50% of his contract to the state of California.
Yeah.
On top of that, I don't know how it works. Also, they have that jock tax as well, where you have to pay taxes in every state that you play in. Have you heard of that one?
No, I've not.
Yeah,
You have to file in every state that you play that takes an income tax, because basically by you playing a game, like say he plays the White Sox, you basically worked in Illinois.
Right, but keep in mind too that when he works in Illinois, that means he's not working in California, and therefore is not paying the California tax for that game. He's only paying the Illinois tax.
What a mess.
Which is why all these guys hire accountants.
Right, of course, yeah. Maybe he can bet a bunch of horse races and write it off his gambling.
There you go.
Or go to the track and pick up a bunch of tickets. Go over to Santa Ana or something.
Yeah.
But a lot of when I watched the introduction for Bryce Harper, the word kept coming up, family. And like I said, I think, and this was before knowing what his mindset was, I think the stability really was what he wanted out of this contract. Hence, obviously, like you said, it is the highest North American sports contract, but it's just slightly above Giancarlo Stanton. At the same time, I mean, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, he got jobbed. Oh, he got robbed." But realistically, a lot of his stats, are down a little bit. He might not have been worth the $500 million or $400 million that everybody was expecting him to get.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree. I watched him relatively closely when I lived in the D.C. metro area for a while, for about 6 years. So I'm pretty familiar with him as a player. I haven't watched a lot in the last year and a half or so. I'll admit that, but. I mean, he's the epitome of what people want to think of as a five-tool type of player that gives this great 100% effort. But to me, and I've watched relatively closely, he is not a 100% effort guy all the way. Yes, he will run into some walls in the outfield, and he'll look like he goes crazy. But I mean, he is not running out ground balls 100% of the time, not even close.
Well, that's everybody in the Major League Baseball.
Well, we're talking about one guy right now. That's all I can say. So I mean, it's.
I understand that, but Manny Machado gets $300 million and doesn't run out balls and admits that he doesn't run out balls, and we seem to be okay with that.
Well, I'm
and
not...
steps on people's ankles in the middle of the NLCS.
Sure, but I mean, we can talk about him too, and that's fine. But I mean, just for this specific person, he's known as an all-out hustle kind of guy by many people, and it's just not the case. So I think he's an average fielder, maybe slightly above average. Does have a pretty good arm, but he's not anything better than that. He gets out of position at times. He's taken some bad routes to balls. At least he did 2 or 3 years ago when I was watching more closely. I think he's a good fielder, but he's not anything better than good. The biggest improvement that he's made, and I think the part that puts him in the top level conversation, is his eye at the plate and how patient he is, and how he can wait out, and get some really, really nice counts for himself, and maybe get some better pitches than a lot of other players won't see in at bats. I mean, that's a big plus. But in regards to straight power numbers, Token and I were talking about this on the way in. He's not head and shoulders better than than a very good power hitter, an outfielder.
Well, he's
corner
definitely
outfielder.
not. I wouldn't even say he's a top 10 player in the league. But
Sure.
At the same time, he's also, this is my opinion, he's also the most recognizable face in the league.
Yeah, oh yeah, for whatever their business reasons are.
So I think a lot of people expected him to get more money just because they knew who he was, and his stats aren't terrible.
Brand
I mean, he did have his first 100 RBI year. 100 RBI a year this year was his first one, or last year, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But he only batted .250. So, I mean, obviously the advanced metrics guys love his advanced stats, but his basic stats were kind of a roller coaster this year. But the question I really have is, and again, family is obviously a key thing. He wants to grow roots. How bad would Washington had to have been that the only place he's known since he's basically become an adult wasn't good enough for him to start a family there? And I'm not disrespecting Philly, but I don't see the difference between Washington, D.C. and Philly. And the fact that he's a West Coast guy did throw me off a little bit about not wanting to be a Dodger. So Philly seems like a puzzling location.
I don't like the D.C. metro area at all. And again, having lived there for about 6 years, I think
Alexandria is really nice.
It's extremely crowded and extremely busy, and there's traffic everywhere, and I don't think it's ideal.
Well, there's traffic everywhere in Philly as well.
But not like in the in the suburbs of Virginia and in Maryland. I mean, you are in traffic pretty much.
Pretty sure that he could have bought a helicopter to get him to the games.
Well, that's the step. Yes, I mean, and that's
with
fine.
the $310 million I think Washington offered him.
But I've lived in 6 different parts of the country throughout my life so far, and it is by far the worst spot I've been in.
It's pretty nasty with traffic, especially up and down 95.
And then it's surrounded by a large city, and as large cities go, there are quite a few subpar areas of that large city.
Yeah, there's not a lot of great areas around D.C.
Correct, and it is much more of a higher percentage of poor compared to New York, compared to Chicago, compared to the other cities. Yes, they all have bad areas, of course. All big cities do.
I get that. Yeah.
But the percentage isn't great, and then nobody really wants to go to Maryland if you're on the other side. So there's just not a lot of huge plus. I don't have as much experience with Philly, but If he can find a nice, I think more quiet suburban type of life, which I'm guessing that's what he's trying. That is his focus at this point as he grows a family. There are, I think, some better advantages for probably that area, at least to me, of the little that I've seen of it compared to DC. So, but you brought up the point that he's obviously from here in the Las Vegas area, and that LA would be such a close jaunt, and at least have a
Arizona too. I'm sure Arizona would have
exactly.
backed up, but I know they're in a different spot, especially after trading Goldschmidt.
Sure, but that type of area, though, yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. The Western type of
Scottsdale
ideals and culture and the way we live out here is just very different than the way people in the Northeast do. And again, nothing good and bad to both. I don't care either way. It's just, it is surprising that somebody from this type of area would want to seek out and be okay establishing themselves fully in a spot in the Northeast. That is a big surprise.
Well, and that was the thing, too, because I looked, the minute I said that, the minute we talked about that, I was like, okay, where's his wife from? Well, she's from here, too. She's basically of the same ilk, born and bred here in Las Vegas. So, yeah, it's just, Philadelphia just, I didn't, in his interview, I didn't get from him, or his press conference, why Philadelphia. He said he wants to build a family, he wants to set roots. He wanted a contract that basically offered him stability, and obviously getting paid until you're 62 does just that. But it just, to me, and again, I don't know if it's, I've been to Philly a few times. I'm just not a fan of the city. I like the history of the city, but the history of the city, living in it day to day doesn't really matter to somebody.
Right. Well, I like the city. I disagree with you there. I actually do like the city. It's a great food city as well. Very underrated food city. But
yeah, but I mean, you're looking at what you're looking at, the history, the food. That stuff day to day is irrelevant to a guy who's a sports athlete. It's how you're beloved by the fans, and and what we believe, if things go wrong, he's going to not be loved by the fans. If he brings them a World Series title, cool. How long does that put him in the good graces? I mean, Philadelphia fans were already booing. What's his name? Doug Peterson or Scott Peterson? Who's the coach of the Phillies? Doug Peterson. They were already booing Doug Peterson less than 10 months from him bringing a Super Bowl championship. So it's just, to me, the notion of having to be a sports athlete, especially when you were just a rival as well, having to be a sports figure in that city when things inevitably at some point won't go right. I mean, look, when he's 34, he might be a shell. Look at Miguel Cabrera. Miguel Cabrera is not the player that he was when he was 26, and now they're stuck with him.
He's really old, isn't he? Like in his
I think he's like
30s, at least?
32 or something.
He's only like 32.
Really?
And they're stuck with him till he's like 43.
Yeah. And
So-
a big yearly contract every year. And all
I mean,
that,
huge.
yeah.
I think he's making like 28 to 30 million
Something
every year.
ridiculous like
I
that.
didn't realize
yeah.
he was that
So
old.
I'm just saying, Detroit fans, no disrespect token, but
Oh, I know.
you guys can kind of deal with that. You guys are kind of like, all right, Mickey's here, whatever.
I've been saying the last few years, if anybody wants him, hopefully we trade
Well,
him.
everybody wants him. I just don't think anybody wants
Yeah.
to pay him. But that's
Yeah.
that's the same thing with things like that. In L.A. they can get away with having a shit contract in Pujols because, well, Philly's a little different. So it was really a little bit surprising to me that he chose that city because, again, the food is good, but I don't think that's why he chose the city and the history, and I don't think he wants to go lick the Liberty Bell every other week. So to me,
It tastes like a penny.
So to me, I just the choice of city was a weird one to me.
Is that a thing people do?
It's a line from an old TV show.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
And said, "What do you want to do tonight?" He says, "I want to lick the Liberty Bell," and they
Yeah.
live in New York. So.
I mean,
Tastes like
Philadelphia
a penny.
people are fucking crazy. So
well, they ate horse shit and greased up poles. But my point being
Right.
is, like, he could have gone and played for the Yankees. Again, I understand that they're another fan base that can turn on you real quick, but White Plains, Westchester, all that stuff north of the Bronx is a really good area to be, raise a family. It just, I don't know. To me, just Philly seemed like an interesting choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was kind of a shocking when I heard. I thought it was like April Fool's joke or something like that. I'm like, wow, Philly, and that kind of contract, 13 years, $300 million.
Yeah, I think it's good for him. The question
Yeah.
is, at what point will it not be good, or will it stop being good for the Phillies?
Well, the one thing that I mentioned in our text exchange is that when this was going on is that I thought for sure he would sign with an AL team. Not necessarily because I thought, the teams made better offers or this, that, and the other thing, but I thought by the end of his career, if he had lost a step and he wasn't able to play the field anymore, that he would be able to DH. Not being able to do that in Philly, I think, puts a little bit of added pressure on him, especially towards the end of his contract.
Which has no opt-outs and a no-trade clause.
Right. So this is one of those things where I think the front end of this, I think, is going to work out very well for him. I think the back end of this, he's going to end up almost pariah-like in Philadelphia, like Ryan Howard towards the end of his career.
Yeah. He was so injured.
Oh, I know,
but he couldn't play. He couldn't DH.
Or he couldn't do anything. I mean, at that point, and then Philly was stuck paying him. Philly was stuck with that money off the.
And you would have think they would have learned their lesson by that Ryan Howard deal. I mean, Ryan Howard, I think, either may still be on the books or just have come off the books.
You know what the real fucked up thing about this Bryce Harper contract is that for 4 years after the Bryce Harper contract ends, the Mets will still be paying Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah, it's $1 million a year.
Everybody says that like it's a dumb thing. It's genius.
It is genius, but
genius
it's also
for Bobby and it's genius
hysterical.
for the Mets. It is. Yeah. But a lot of contracts are actually deferred, not as long as Bobby Bonilla, but a lot of contracts are deferred. Especially, like we said, Bryce Harper will be getting money from the Phillies until he's 62 years old.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So contracts are deferred all the time. It's just the one you hear about is Bobby Bonilla because he signed that big deal with the Mets and immediately sucked.
Yeah.
Like he immediately sucked as a baseball player. It's just, I don't know. To me, this one, you're right. But the two things, the rebuttals I will throw that way is, one, if he is older and becomes a pariah from the Phillies, and maybe, once he has a family, the family's a little older, doesn't mind being moved. At $25 million, the rate that all of these contracts are going in baseball, at $25 million, he'll be a easy contract to trade. One. Second rebuttal is there's very strong push by the MLB Players Association and actually Rob Manfred, the commissioner, is listening to it, that the NL will adopt the DH here within the next 5 years. So, then it won't matter.
It won't matter, assuming that happens. I think
it's going that way.
Yeah, it looks that way. It seems like it should be.
MLB wants offense. Pitchers can't hit. So
it's embarrassing watching pitchers hit.
It is.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I've said this. I went to a couple of National League games. I saw the Giants, saw Arizona, things like that.
If you like baseball,
so bad.
If you like baseball, you enjoy the strategy of it. But yes, it's bad for the game. It's not good for the game when one of your leagues. If everyone did it, you'd never know any difference.
Right.
But the fact that the other league in your major leagues does it is kind of tough. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long is Bryce Harper going to be a Philly?
Contract is 13 years, correct?
I'm aware of that. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know you were asking questions. I thought you were stating a fact. I was like, yes.
13 years.
I'm trying to figure out if he makes it all 13, so I'll let the other two
in a Philly
guess
uniform,
first.
Does he play 13 years?
Probably
Does he
not.
play for another team in the major leagues?
Yes. I would say yes.
I would say more than likely,
yes. I think that's the likely scenario, yes.
It'd
Probably
be-
not a
it'd be the
huge
favorite.
There's the
It'd
next
be
guy to
favorite,
get big
yeah.
money right there.
Yeah, a nice enough favorite, yes.
Aaron Judge.
I would agree
Yeah,
with
we're
that.
talking about him on the way up
we
to
were
him,
as well.
Trout and
Who should get big contracts, who should not. It was actually interesting.
Trout's another one too. Trout could make $50 million a year if he wanted to. But could you imagine? Actually, that's another situation too. Is Trout could also be in that outfield with Bryce Harper here in a couple of years too.
Sure.
Trout's a
God
Philly
almighty.
boy, or he's from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, or whatever, or something like that. Which I guess is a suburb of Philly, technically.
Yeah, pretty much. I think they actually have the best public schools in the country, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, cool. There you go. Then.
I'd have to look that up again, but I think I remember hearing that.
I have
Then maybe
idea.
Bryce Harper's going to live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and send his kids to the best public schools in America.
There you go. And that he doesn't have to spend some of that $25 million sending him to private schools.
It's true.
yep, it's part of the equation.
So did you have an answer?
Oh, I forgot about that. I say he bangs out all 13 years in Philly.
Wow.
I think he does it rather begrudgingly. I think the team keeps him rather begrudgingly. I think at the end it's
Nobody's happy.
He's going to be 38 with gray hair going, why the
one's
fuck do I
happy.
got to suit up every day?
I think by the end of the contract, it's a strained relationship, and people are waiting for it to get over. But I don't think I think both of them kind of stick it out.
Fair enough.
I can't remember a time where these really long-term contracts, non-hockey I'm talking about, where
Hockey
people
doesn't work out
where
either.
people are not happy. Yeah, we're just people aren't happy at the end. I mean, there's
I can't
always
think of a
everyone's,
contract.
everyone's unhappy. At the
I
end.
don't want to generalize it, but I can't think of a contract in
People
any
are
major
like-
sport that is over 8 years.
8+ years, yeah,
that's
exactly.
worked out.
Where everyone's just like really happy. Oh, it was a great guy.
I mean, financially, the team makes their money back on a guy with marketability. So I'm not talking about from like. But a lot of people, I've had that conversation with a lot of people. Is yes, the team makes back the money that they probably paid the player. But like I look at a guy like Dustin Pedroia the last few years, he's making a lot of money. And he's not playing. So yes, while the company or the Red Sox are making the money because they're a good team, they won the World Series, they're consistently in contention. But the value of the asset is nil.
Basically, at this point, yeah.
But I guess I want to hear. I mean, I'll flip the script here. I guess I want to hear your all's thoughts because I've had a conversation where somebody tells me I'm crazy for thinking that. I'm like, I'm not saying that the team won't make back their money on these ridiculous deals. But if a player gets hurt, he's essentially useless. That money,
It's dead money.
Thank you. The team is wasting money by signing it, even though they have no problem making the money back. And I've been told that that's a terrible argument. Am I crazy, or is there something I'm not saying?
I don't think you're crazy, but
I mean, I'm crazy, but there's other reasons for that.
that's for damn sure.
You get what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, to a certain degree. I think part of it is that...
Oh, Bobby Bonilla's contract isn't his one. I mean...
I think part of it is that this is just the market of contracts in Major League Baseball at this point. And that for a team, if a team wants to sign a guy and keep him for 5 years, they have to sign him for 8. If they want to keep a guy for 8, they have to sign him for 13.
No, that's not the point I'm making, though.
No, I know that's not the point you're making, but I'm saying that I think that we're at a point where this is just the world we live in.
Okay, right, I get that. But what I'm saying is like, okay, so Bryce Harper signs for $330 million. I don't think any of us sitting in this room doubts that the the Philadelphia Phillies will make that money back.
Unquestionably. The team is making these deals to make money, and they're usually really, really, really good. This is the best thing that they're good at.
The question is
the financial aspect.
The question is, okay, say Bryce Harper goes down in 2 years with a career-ending injury. They're still paying him because the MLB has guaranteed contracts. Yeah. So my point being is while Philly will make the money back, I think that it's dead money. Like, I don't know how
2 years they might not get full value for 2 years. I mean,
okay. But I guess my question is
they would lose out on there.
If the company makes the money back, so let's say they paid for Bryce Harper's contract and they made $100 million of extra off of Bryce Harper's merchandise sales, marketability, blah blah blah. This over the 2 years he got it, or he plays the 13 years, and over the course they get his money back and make $2 billion off of his profitability. A lot of people believe that even if they made 100, that's still successful. I think the team's in business to do the $2 billion, not the $100 million, because they got to make money back on each of these guys. I don't know. Maybe I am starting to sound crazy. I just think if a team signs a guy like this and makes their money back, that doesn't necessarily make it a success for the team.
True. They probably want some return.
The team's in the business of making money.
They want some return in their investment based on play as well.
Correct. I mean, signing a guy for $330 million, your expectation is to make that back and probably make an additional I don't know what the guess is. I'm not in the boardroom, but you want to make 1,000% on your return. Sure. To me, making single-digit % on your return seems like a failure. I invested and took a risk on $330 million and really only made $100 million.
So what's the point that you're trying to make? I don't understand. So. I
had a conversation with somebody like this. I think a team making, again, it's hard to really tell how much you make off of a player. At the same time,
there are certain ways, yes.
You can technically. Yeah, that was weird. Was that an earthquake?
I don't know if you got upset.
You can technically find ways to figure out how you make money off a player. So if a team makes 330, like say the Phillies over the life of this deal, he gets hurt in 2 years, he can't play ever again. Yeah. And over the life of the deal, they made $15-20 million. Yes, they turned a very nice profit, but do you consider that a success for the risk involved?
No, definitely.
And that's why I say like Dustin Pedroia. After he signed the big deal, he's pretty much been hurt every single season. Do you believe that with the risk involved of Dustin Pedroia, that they've reaped the benefits of making that risk?
I mean, it's just such a tough spot.
Obviously, you can't know. I mean, Manny Machado could go get shot in the face tomorrow. That's harsh. That's harsh. That's harsh. That's harsh. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I don't know why. I don't know. That was aggressive. I'm sorry. Manny Machado could go sprain his ankle. Look at John Wall. Here, you're the NBA guy. Look at John Wall. He allegedly fell in the kitchen of his house. And now he may not play next year, and they're paying him $41 million.
Yeah, well, the NBA is a little bit different. So the NBA, depending on the severity, like there's not a fully guaranteed deal in regards to the NBA. He does have to at least, I don't know if there's a camp disclosure or if there's
shot in the face. What the fuck was I thinking?
I have no idea.
Crazy.
You fucking lunatic.
Shut up.
It's not. It is not like baseball where guys just can go out to pasture and the deal just.
I mean, Mike Hampton's another one. You're old and
Darren Dreifort,
you probably followed baseball
forever.
in that era where Mike Hampton signed with the Rockies for like $180 million, played 1 year and got hurt, and never played again. I mean, the risk involved. I guess the question I'm saying is a lot of times, a lot of these. I guess it's really a lot of the players that are complaining about the free agency and a lot of these deals. A lot of the teams were afraid to give up $400, $350, $400, $500 million for these players, and I don't know if it's because they don't think they're going to get the investment back, and if they do, are they going to get enough of a ROI to make signing this guy worth?
We're also trying to keep the market intact as well. There's a between the teams and throughout everyone, they are trying to keep this market in a relative close sense of what they believe that all of these businesses, these teams, which are businesses, are trying to accomplish. And if the market gets away from them, that becomes an issue. That not only affects you as your team.
But if they try to control it too hard, they're going to get a work stoppage.
Correct. That's why it's a tough. Exactly.
It's a fine line.
Correct. That is the whole point. I agree.
Can't talk with your hands when you're holding the mic.
I know.
You take the mic away from your face.
This is the natural Mediterraneanness. I mean, we talk with our hands. There's nothing I can do. It's natural. Maybe it's not, but I saw it too much growing up.
Just put some Windex on it. Here's another one. Well, football's a little different, but we'll switch over to football here. A couple stories before we wrap up. We got like 3 minutes left. Ooh. Jacksonville has, I guess, made the report that they are expected to sign Nick Foles. It's hard to say, do you agree with this move? Because, I mean, look, I'll cut the ties with Blake Bortles. He's obviously an upgrade, Nick Foles. But do you like this move?
For whom?
Well, obviously for the Jags. Nick Foles, obviously looking for Nick Foles, he's going to get paid.
Well, I mean, for Nick Foles, he's going to get a chance to play, which I think was more important to him overall than anything else because he...
Well, yeah, because
after the Super Bowl
he did turn
win,
down $20 million.
Yeah, after the Super Bowl win, he thought, he realized that he was marketable and that he had the potential to be a starter in this league again. So I think for him, it's a great deal. For Jacksonville, I'm still not entirely sure. I don't know. I haven't seen what are the terms of the deal? Do we know yet?
There's nothing official because the league year doesn't start for 10 days.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't get that information yet.
Yeah, it's probably going to work out for Jacksonville. I think the problem is that it might be not enough to keep up with the Houstons and the Indies of the world and
tough
Tennessee.
Division now.
Yeah, that's a real tough division. It
closes the top to bottom of that division, but it's still... I think Indy's going to win that division next year.
I think Houston. I'm going to ride the Houston train again until they prove me wrong.
About 3 weeks.
I think the question really...
I'm taking Tennessee, just so everyone's aware.
All right.
Yeah, we have 3 differences. Good.
Okay, fine. Whatever.
Go on, go.
Fine, I'll take Jacksonville.
There you go.
That's what I was wondering.
I mean, if Nick Foles is any kind of decent, I mean, they play a fourth place schedule again this year, like they did 2 years ago.
Yes, you got Jacksonville. See, there you go.
Yeah,
That's what I was trying to get
I feel a lot better about Jacksonville than I do about Tennessee. So.
Oh, I disagree. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Tennessee and what's going on there.
Well, good. That's good for you. Mm-hmm. Anyways, point being is that do you think that they still draft a quarterback though? I mean, he's 31. What kind of contract do you sign a 31-year-old quarterback to?
2 this year, maybe 3.
Well, that's the question because you have guys like Brady and Rodgers who are going to.
Oh, you can get more than 2.
Who knows when the fuck they're going to play till? And then you have guys like Joe Flacco who seems like a stopgap until they can make their next move. That's what it feels like to me for Nick Foles. I think you're right. I think as much as we laughed at Token right there, but I think he's not terribly too far off. I think at most you're giving him 4 or 5.
Ooh, 5.
I wouldn't agree with 5. I'm just saying at most you could. What the fuck is wrong with his mustache?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Who is this?
That's Antonio Brown.
Is it?
Yeah, that's
What the fuck is happening to his face?
Look,
Maybe it's a sign of things to
look,
come.
I'm sorry. I don't disagree with everything Antonio Brown has said, but it's really hard to take you seriously when you look like that. But, like I said, I know that, Tony, you and I had this conversation when Peterson announced that he was going to go with Wentz. I don't know, can Foles do the same thing? We've seen when he goes away from Philly, it doesn't really work.
He's not a quality starting quarterback in my opinion. I mean, obviously this is certainly a well-opinionated topic, and I we can see both sides here. But to me, I've seen enough of him to know that the bad games are really, really bad, and he will make 2 or 3 what I call graphically bad decisions during a game. That, I mean, we can talk about how subpar Eli Manning is now at the point of his career as a quarterback, and he is, but he does not make 2 to 3 graphically bad decisions pretty much, in each and every game. And
he
Nick
makes
Foles,
2 to 3 graphically bad decisions each and every drive.
But
we'll agree to disagree there.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't think that's true at all. I think Eli is just not any. He just can't throw the. He's just not any good. He's not making bad decisions per se. He's just throwing the ball away.
Useless for his position.
Yeah, he's just not. He's not a useful
He's kind
player.
of an important position.
It's a really important position. He's just not a useful player. I don't think he's like actually making outright bad decisions. He's just not useful in what he can do. I don't know. That's the way I see it. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Nick Foles is graphically bad decision guy. And those type of quarterbacks, I do not want to put as a centerpiece around my team. And obviously, a 3 to 4
I think Marone has to go now, though. I don't think he really has a choice. I think Doug Marone because Tom Coughlin's effectively making the decisions, and I think one more bad year, and he's going to decide that Doug Marone needs to be replaced. But as of right now, before the Nick Foles signing is official, the Jacksonville Jaguars are 50-1 to win the Super Bowl. Do you believe that moves up once that's official?
No.
Fucking Houston Texans are 50-1. Holy shit!
Well,
Really?
No, I don't think that will.
At least on Vegas Insider.
All right.
No,
Nick Foles doesn't move the needle. No,
maybe 5.
Indianapolis Colts are the leader in the AFC South at 18-1 to win the Super Bowl. Man, look how quick Andrew Luck comes back to the pack.
Yeah.
Everybody forgot about him last year.
Yep.
I don't know. I think
with those values of those 3 teams, I like the Texans at 50-1.
I mean, I think again with a
one,
4th place schedule, I think Jacksonville, if Jalen Ramsey just shuts his mouth, I think the defense is halfway decent. The question really is what kind of Leonard Fournette are you going to get when we come back to the season?
That's probably the biggest factor.
I really believe that you look at Jacksonville and they're kind of almost like Philly, with the only exception I see that's a glaring difference is I don't think they have a receiver like Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
But I mean,
as well as
for the lack of a receiver in Alshon Jeffrey, I think they have a good running back, which Philly doesn't.
As well as Hurts on tight end.
You were relying on Sproles props for the playoffs.
That was fun, though.
It was fun, yes.
Yeah. I mean, but Ertz is a big factor in that Philly team for sure too, as tight end.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of different. I see a lot of similarities in the team, and I think
I like the coaching staff a lot more in Philly as well. I think that they're much more forward thinking, and they address issues in game a lot better. Doug Peterson, at least on the offensive side of the ball, is really, really good in game at making adjustments. I've been really impressed watching him these last couple of years, at least with that offense. Not just with play calling, but with personnel changes as well. Getting Darren Sproles in some good spots late in the year, to be effective is just amazing. Sproles has been around forever, and it's pretty impressive to watch, in my opinion. I just like the coaching staff a lot more.
Give me some good news, Spike. I may not deserve it, but give me some good news.
For what?
Just fucking wait a second and listen. Has Blake Bortles played his last snap in the NFL?
No.
Oh, yay.
Well, I
Oh, yay.
So I don't think he's a starter immediately. I think he gets signed as a backup somewhere, or I think
Is his contract up? Is
he's
free agent?
up
What is his deal?
this year.
No,
isn't
he
it?
just re-signed a big deal.
Oh,
Right, that's what I thought. I thought
yeah,
he was on.
He
a
would
deal
have to be.
somewhere.
He would have to be traded, but you can trade a quarterback like that for peanuts. A guy who has starting experience, who could come in and learn in a system. New England.
'Cause there are plenty of teams out there that have mediocre starting quarterbacks and dreadfully bad backups. So they
He's got to you got to pay him though. Isn't that kind of a thing? No? Okay.
I mean,
Let me look at his contract.
for some teams, it's going to be a problem, especially if they already have a quarterback that they're paying a lot.
That's right,
But
yeah.
a team like Arizona that's only paying Rosen peanuts.
Okay, yeah.
Putting Bortles behind
the
him
day.
to try to mentor him, and then if Rosen fails, you can put Bortles in as a stopgap.
Fair enough.
Like that kind of thing, that sort of situation makes sense to me.
Yeah, got
He's
it.
making his cap hit will be $23 million next year. Oh wait, no. His cap will be $21 million next year. In 2020, it'll be $23 million, and then he's a free agent.
A couple more years in the low 20s, I could see that being tough for some teams.
But he could sit as a backup this year, and he has a I don't know if it's a team option or his option of opting out. So I would imagine they're going to suggest really, really hard if it's a player option that he should go. So I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, $21 million cap hit this year. So if you have $21 million invested in him, what are they going to sign Nick Foles to? I mean, if he gets $20 million, now you got $41 million tied up in a quarterback.
Yeah, when you're only putting one on the field, unless you're Token Tony, and then
Unless
you're
you're
putting,
Token Tony's contract.
and then you're putting out the two quarterback system.
Offense, the two quarterback awesome.
Foles has got to make over 20. I mean, he's won a bunch of games in the playoffs the last couple of years. I think that's enough.
But like you said, it may not be the money. He turned down 20 plus to leave Philly.
Yeah.
He may take a 3-year, $54 million deal.
Maybe.
Depending how much is guaranteed, what incentives there are, and all that too. And
Yeah, I don't know if Jacksonville's making the right move. It feels right now. I feel like he's a stopgap. It wouldn't shock me if they took in like the second or third round. If they took like Will Greer or Drew Lock if they're still available. Because I don't think they're going to take Kyler Murray, and I don't think they're going to take Dwayne Haskins because I don't know what pick they have, but at the same time, I don't think they're targeting him. I think they've got a lot more glaring needs immediately. So I could see them taking a guy like Greer or Locke and giving him the Aaron Rodgers treatment in this spot. You know, letting him sit, letting him watch.
the ball up. And
then when Tom Coughlin fires Doug Marrone and eventually takes the coaching job, he'll have his quarterback ready.
That's what it feels like is going to happen, doesn't it? It has that feel to it.
Yep.
I agree.
So, all right, well, that's it for me. Or not for me, but that's it for us. Unless you had a final thought on Nick Foles. You really didn't talk about him.
Yeah, I have no real thoughts on Nick Foles, so just like as a person.
He's a good guy.
Well, we haven't seen him play too much in the game as a starter during the regular season to get a good grasp of what he's capable of doing. So,
well, the crazy thing is, I mean, in Philadelphia, he was just a winner. And
yeah.
the old question is you know, if Alshon Jeffrey catches that ball, then we don't have the NFC Championship game where there's the non-call.
So glad you dropped it.
Why?
I want a prop. At the under yards.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just rooting against...
At least we know somebody that benefited out of that.
Yep.
I thought you were like, I'm rooting against Nick Foles so hard, I'm glad he dropped that ball.
Nope. Just under on the Alshon Jeffrey yards. Thank you, Alshon.
Yeah, attaboy.
Good riddance. Good career in Chicago, though. Enjoyed him.
All right, that's it for us. We want to thank the sponsors, 12-Ounce Sports Radio, ChaiPoker.com, Eric on the Web Productions, and Vegas Puckland Apparel. We will be back on Wednesday. I don't know, sometime in the PM. I forget it. I'm drawing a blank right now.
7-ish.
Yeah, sometime between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m.
It's informative.
Just listen to every show that comes on 12-Ounce. There you go. Plug 12-Ounce.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, listen to every show. At some point, we'll be on there. So.
Yep.
Got a couple of minutes here. Do you guys want to wrap up your golf bets?
We could do that on Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll wait till Wednesday.
All right, we'll wait till Wednesday to wrap up the golf bets. I do want to give Token Tony props for the Miguel Angel Jimenez. Made me $100. So,
Woo!
although
Nicely done, Tony.
At least somebody told me.
As bad as I feel about tailing Token, it worked out. So
it was tough for you to hit the button that says place bet.
yeah, and my Alex Noren bet did not work out, and the open heart surgery guy started off well.
Compton, yeah.
But he flaked down the end.
So you have officially blacklisted Alex Noren. That's true?
We'll talk Wednesday.
Okay.
All right.
All right, that's it for us. We are out. We'll catch you on the next episode.